Welcome to Obsessive Compulsive Detailing of San Antonio. My name is Alan Metler, and today I'm going to demonstrate how to properly and safely wash your car. I will be using this limited edition Ferrari Challenge Stradale as my demo car. I'll also be going over some of the chemicals and equipment that we use to safely wash the car. Another very important aspect of washing your car is chemical selection. How do you know what chemical you can safely but effectively use to wash and detail your car? Well, you can go online, you can do the research, you can go on the forums and ask others what they use, or you can buy an array of products and test them out and find out what works for you, what works for your individual car color, what's best to use on your leather. I use many different products for different cars, for different colors, for different leathers, for different vinyls, for different interiors. And it all comes down to personal choice and what you think looks best on the vehicles you're working on. I will go through all the chemicals that I'm going to be using on this car when we go outside to wash it. Okay, we're outside. I've selected some of the products and equipment that I'm going to be using to wash the car. First thing I'm going to go over is this right here. So inside this spray bottle is Optimum's no rinse wash and wax. What I like to do on a car that hasn't been washed in a few weeks and it has heavy accumulation, buildup, road grime on it, I like to soak any of the concentrated areas with this spray first. It has a lot of lubricity to it and it pulls some of the dirt off of the paint, and it's going to help prevent the scratching when you actually go and wash the car. So one of the first things I do is I coat almost the entire car, and especially the heavily saturated areas. I like to coat it with this first. So the second thing I'm going to be using is Dawn dish soap. Now I know a lot of people say don't use dish soap and don't use Dawn on your car. It strips the wax off and it strips any sealant or anything like that you have on it, and that's why I'm using it. You don't want to use it all the time. It can whiten some of the plastics because it's such a good degreaser and it's so strong that it pulls the wax and sealants off your car. But that's why I want to use it, because I want to start with a fresh base on my paint today. Some of the equipment I'm going to be using is my 2-bucket wash. This is one of the safest ways to wash your car when you're hand washing it. I have my soap bucket, and then I have my clean bucket, my rinse bucket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my soap and water in this one and clean water in that one, and I'll demonstrate it later. But this is going to be the one that you put the soap on the car with, and then that's going to be the one that you rinse the mitt and you rinse the dirt off in the rinse bucket. The other bucket I'm going to be using is strictly for wheel wells and tires. I keep it separate from all the other ones because of the amount of grime and iron that can accumulate in some of this equipment and in this bucket. So here are some of the things I'm going to be using. One of them is a wheel woolly. This is great for getting back deep inside the rims. A smaller one for getting behind big calipers on rims. You know, this car has very big calipers, very small space between, so this one helps get in between that. And then my tiny wheel woolly, I use this for small spots that are actually on the caliper, and there are a few cars that the rim is so close to the caliper, this is really the only thing that can get back there. This is for the lug nuts, the wheel nuts. None of these really fit inside there, so I like to spray a little bit of the quick detailer or the no rinse deep inside there, and I get in there and I twist it and I just remove the grime that's accumulated on the inside of those lug nuts. This is for the tire. It's the only thing I use it for. It's just for getting the dirt off the tire. When you're all done washing the car and you like to put the tire foam or the tire dressing on the tire, if the tire isn't clean, if it's not as black as you can get it, then it won't look as black as it can once you add the dressing to it. So I like to get all the dirt off with this. This is for the wheel wells and only the wheel wells. Spray soap up in there. I get up in there and just get all the extra soap off or all the extra dirt off. It's very soft. It won't even scratch the plastic, but it does a good job of cleaning back up in there. And then my sponge, the wheel only sponge. This is after you use all this and you get it all done, I use this on the entire rim and get back behind each spoke as good as I can. So let me go through some of the other equipment that I'm using. One of them is a microfiber mitt. This is what I'm going to be actually washing the car with. When you're washing a car that is high-end or you're doing a very, very sophisticated detail on it, make sure that you're using either a brand new microfiber or one that you have is extremely clean. You've already run it through the washer with the proper cleaning solution on it. I keep mine in a bag. This has been used 4 or 5 times, but on very clean cars, and I take very good care of it. The other thing I'm going to be using are mechanics gloves. These are very soft. The only part on them that has that's hard at all is this plastic piece. Just be real careful when you're washing the car. The Velcro might scratch the paint. If it does, you know, you're out of luck. So make sure you keep them closed and just be careful. I really only use these when I'm doing the rims so I can get my hands back up inside. And last but not least, my drying towel. I can't remember the brand of this is, but it's a double-sided. It's very thick. It's very, very plush. I think this towel is about $25 or $30, but when you are drying a car and you have a very expensive car and you have a very expensive paint job, you got to use the best on it. You got to make sure that you're not scratching a customer's car. You got to make sure you're not scratching your own car. So this is some of the equipment that I'm going to be using on this. We're going to be using other chemicals and equipment once we move back inside after we wash the car. And I'll introduce you to those products once we get back in there. First thing we're going to do is start on the wheels and tires. Okay, so I'm going to be starting on the back wheel. The first thing I want to do is just get it wet. Get some of the dirt out. I always spray up inside the wheel well just to knock off some of the dirt that may accumulate up there. When you're spraying near the car, if you have a metal tipped hose nozzle, make sure that you're not getting it too close to the car. You don't want to scrape any of the paint or even the rim while you're doing it. So here's what I'm using on the rims to clean it. This is a Maxi Suds 2. It's by Chemical Guys. This is a very non-abrasive soap. It's very soft soap. I know that it works well on the rims, and the other thing I know is that it's safe. Now, a lot of cleaners say that they're safe on all wheel types, and that's probably true. But the problem is when you're working on a high-end car like this, it's not so much the wheels that you need to worry about, it's the rotors. These rotors are a composite rotor. I can't even tell you what they're made out of, but I do know that they range anywhere from $1,000 a piece to some of the higher-end cars. Ferraris are almost $5,000 a piece for these composite rotors. They are sensitive to a lot of chemicals, and the last thing you want to do is buy a customer or even yourself a new set of rotors because you sprayed an abrasive wheel cleaner directly onto them. So while that cleaner may be safe for the wheel, it might not be safe for the rotors. Just to be safe on cars like this that don't just have the iron or steel rotors, I use just a very safe soft soap. So the first thing I'm going to do is I clean all back inside, underneath, around the back side of the rotor. I've already gotten it wet. I fill my wheel woolly with soap and water. And I go ahead and I start poking through. I do V's. Each one of these I go in, I do a V. That way I know I'm cleaning behind each spoke. Now when I get to here, my wheel woolly gets stuck. There's a rotor there. I'm not going to be able to get behind it with my wheel woolly. So I skip it. I go down to the bottom. I do all the way around. There's a second caliper on Ferraris. It's on the back side right here. I know I need to go around it. And once I reach back up to the 12 o'clock position where I started, I grab my smaller wheel woolly and I go in. I hit the spots that I missed behind the first caliper and behind the second caliper. All right, I turn my hose to a funnel and I spray off some of the excess and just get the really dirty stuff out of there. Second thing I want to do is get the tire clean. So I get it soapy and I use the brush that I use strictly for tires. Now when a car is this low, you got to watch out. Don't hit the fender with the brush. Come all the way down. Just like that. I want to find my small tool here, get it good and soapy, and get inside each one of these lug nuts all the way around. Now you can take your bigger sponge, still microfiber, these are still painted, they're still clear coated, you don't want to scratch them, and very softly start wiping out each one of the spokes and getting all that brake grime and dust out of there. And like I said, these are painted, they are clear coated, you can scratch them. The stuff that accumulates on here is pieces of the rotor, pieces of the caliper, and the brake dust. So it is abrasive. You don't want to be too hard on it. You don't want to push too hard. Inside each one. Keep rinsing your sponge, get that grime out of there. And then go ahead and do the whole thing. Once you've gotten what you believe to be the majority of the stuff out, sometimes when I see little stuff built up in the corner, I come back and get my brush and I hit it, just get the stuff out of the corners. And around the valve, it should still be on funnel, and then rinse everything out. Get back behind the wheel real good. Last but not least, you're going to do your wheel wells. Now, make sure that you don't bang into the paint that's right here. It's going to clunk around back there, which is fine. It's against the tire and against the wheel well, but you don't want to hit the paint with the brush. So come up from the bottom. And now what you're hearing, that's it hitting against the tire, and it's hitting, the brush is hitting against the inside of the wheel well. It's just flat plastic. But you want to make sure that you're not buffing into any of the paint that's on the outside. I like to keep my hand here. It's just a little bit of a buffer. Get it down. Then I do the back side. Get it up there. Keep my hand there so I don't bang it into it. Get it real good. Spray it out. And that's it. I'm going to go around, do the other tires, and then we're going to take care of the paint.